Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with our ongoing project to cover all the big Leonard Bernstein boxes. And I think I've done them all except the Deutsche Grammophon edition. Now, we are lucky because the Deutsche Grammophon edition came in two different clump releases, clump objects. There is this clump object. Oh, there we go. Here they are. Two big volume things in these like album-sized, incredibly awkward, impossible to store things. But then there's another big, clumpy, impossible to store thing that has the big box. It has the contents of these two somewhat smaller boxes. I am doing these somewhat smaller boxes because I can make two videos out of it. Let me get comfy here. Yeah, I mean, that big box would take forever to get through. It really will. So I'm going to do these. I mean, how many discs are there in each one? It should tell us somewhere, right? Maybe. This is 60. Now, that's the booklet. And it has some DVDs and the making of West Side Story and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so it has 60 discs and a booklet. And this one, number 2, there we go, has like the same probably, 63 discs plus a bonus and other stuff. I just think this is an easier way to do it. It makes my life much simpler, and yours too. You won't have to watch me gab for quite so long. The big box may have like some extra DVDs or something in it. I don't know. I have to go look. And I haven't yet because it's in Brooklyn and I'm here in Connecticut, but that's all right. I'm actually sitting in an empty apartment in Brooklyn with a big Bernstein box, a tam-tam, a bed, and a television. So let's see. The greatest pianist among... Well, whatever this says. Okay, so let's see what we have in here. First, we open it up. I really don't much care for these boxes. It comes with a lovely little bookie. Here's the bookie. I mean, these are out of print, by the way, because all you can get now is the big box. But this was handy because we all bought it when it came out. I don't know. It was handy because it was in 2 pieces. It really was. And then you get these things with these it looks like this. And I actually like this because if you don't have these sanitized for your protection toilet seat cover things that they put on here, then they jump around. If you store it this way, they all pop out of their little slots here and they get scrambled, which is very irritating. So I kept the sanitized for your protection toilet seat covers, and I very carefully put things in there. But now, of course, I have duplicates of all of this stuff. So, all right, let's go through this, shall we? We have here the track listing. At least you get the track listing on the back of the box in the book, and it's very convenient. So, ready? First, the Beethoven cycle with the Vienna Philharmonic. This was, you may recall, Bernstein's Deutsche Grammophon, launching point. And it was a very important release in his career because with it, first of all, it was with the Vienna Philharmonic, and it remains, frankly, one of the very best Beethoven cycles with the Vienna Philharmonic, along with like Schmidt-Isserstedt and Karl Böhm and a couple, well, maybe there's a bunch of them, but that's all right. It's a very, very, very good Beethoven cycle. And the point is, it repositioned Bernstein as sort of a grand old man of basic repertoire stuff, where before he was the American hothead. Of course, he was always an American hothead, but with that release, he was a Deutsche Grammophon artist, and he was there on the cover with his gray hair, looking very serene and very Germanic. It was kind of fun. It was good positioning, if you know what I mean. So then we've got, let's see, a bunch of overtures, which are quite good, and the symphonies, by the way, are really, really excellent. The outstanding performances are, I think, the 7th, which is beautiful, the Eroica, which he always did quite well, and the Pastoral is lovely. I mean, it's just a very solid Beethoven cycle all the way around. It doesn't really have any weak links. You may like it not as well as others or whatever, but there's no questioning its quality. And the overtures are wonderful. And the, piano concertos, 3, 4, and 5, those were with Christian Zimmermann, you may recall, but he he died before doing 1 and 2. And so Zimmerman and the orchestra went on and did them without conductor. And they sound just as good. So that's fine. And then you've got that fabulous disc, CD9, of string quartets arranged for string orchestra, which Bernstein thought was his greatest recording. And he may not be wrong. They're fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. It's quartets 14 and 16. The last one and that big C-sharp minor one. Oh, God, it's wonderful. Then the Missa Solemnis with the Concertgebouw. That's one of the great ones. And this is on 1 disc. They didn't spread it out on 2, which was nice of them, at least in this pile. Fidelio, which is first class, with some very controversial tempos. Oh, Namen, Lose Freud. You know, it's kind of slow, but very, very effective. Wonderful cast, wonderful singing, lovely, wonderful, terrific. Then we've got, we've got the Amnesty International concert. Right, yes, of course. The Leonora Overture number 3, Piano Concerto number 4, Fifth Symphony, that's the Amnesty International one. Then you've got the Berlin Wall concert, which I think was just horrible and vile and terrible, but it was an event. You know what they sang there, right? With Freiheit instead of Freude, freedom instead of joy. And I mean, that's okay. That's okay. It was just a big sloppy public fest thing and broadcast all over the place, so that's great. Then we've got Bernstein's final concert, the Beethoven 7th and the Britten 4C interludes, where he was like near death and had to stop to catch his breath to do it. It's sad. It's with the Boston Symphony at Tanglewood. It's really, really a sad event. I mean, the performances are okay. He's failing. And that was really a tragedy. And to have that documented, I think, is also kind of a pity. To be honest with you, it's not necessary. Absolutely not necessary. Then we've got Bernstein doing his own music. And that's what's in a lot of this particular box. It might be better to get the big box because you dilute all the Bernstein stuff. Not that it's bad. I think he was a wonderful composer. But that's been released so many different ways in so many different forms over and over again. I mean, I'm sitting here staring at box sets, and one of them is the Bernstein Complete Edition of like all of his own music. It's just sitting right there. So, all right. So you get all the Bernstein stuff. And do we need to go through all of that? No, I don't think we need to go through all that stuff. It's discs 17 through 32, which is a lot of Bernstein. This is alphabetical, by the way, which is kind of handy. We're more or less alphabetical. Then we've got his Bizet Carmen with, Marilyn Horne with the Met Orchestra. That was wonderful. That's a wonderful Carmen. It's tons of fun. You know, Bernstein's operas could be quirky. Some of them were very good. Some of them were just terrible. But most of them were quite good. There weren't so many of them. On Sony, there was Rosenkavalier and Falstaff, which were both excellent. And was there anything else? I mean, probably I'm forgetting something. And then on Deutsche Grammophon, there's Carmen. And let's see. Well, he did A Quiet Place, which is just... But, most of them are pretty good. He also did that La Boheme, which is in box 2 here, which just sucks. Oh, God, it's terrible. Okay, Brahms. All right, where can we talk? Let's talk, friends, shall we? Bernstein was never a major Brahmsian. He just wasn't. I mean, it's not that he was bad. His first Brahms cycle with the New York Philharmonic is actually quite respectable. It really is. But later Bernstein indulged in some perversely slow and strange tempi. His choices became rather self-indulgent. Well, they weren't self-indulgent. You know, one of the things I always said about Bernstein, it wasn't that he was being self-indulgent. He was being pedantic, actually, because he was an educator above all. He was trying to tell us something, to communicate something. What the hell he thought? He was communicating about Brahms by playing it at a third slower than anyone ever had any right to? I have no clue. He was no Celibidache, let's put it that way. It was also horrible in Brahms, by the way. Brahms needs to move. Brahms needs flow. I think part of it is that he was in love with the sound of the Vienna Philharmonic, and he was simply reveling in this bath of sort of Viennese schmaltz, if you want to call it that. And it's schmaltzy. The performances are schmaltzy. I'm sorry about that, but they just are. They drive me crazy, frankly. I really hated them when they came out. Since then, I've mellowed a little bit, and I can listen to some of the beautiful details that he brings out. And since then, of course, there have been many more perverse people than Bernstein, like Celibidache and other people like that. So you can get Brahms that's a hell of a lot more grotesque than anything Bernstein ever did. Because say what you will about him, like tempo-wise, he was never demented in terms of shaping and phrasing and form. He wasn't. He just wasn't. So you could count on him not to be ridiculous, but it's just too slow. Frankly, it's too slow. The piano concertos, the violin concerto, the double concerto, those are with the usual culprits, Zimmerman, Gegenkramer, I think, and whoever the hell else. I'm not even bothering to look. The concerti are much better, but also a little bit on the slow side. And Zimmerman is a little narcissistic himself, so I guess they were well suited to each other. I just wonder here. Wait a minute, I'm just so curious. I don't know why they don't tell you. Okay. It's okay. I'm going to just check something out here without knocking this all over the place. Yeah, I didn't. All right. We're good. So, meanwhile, to continue. Let's see. Bruckner 9. I like this Bruckner 9. These are all mostly with Vienna, New York, and Israel Philharmonic, by the way. Something like that. Bruckner 9. Yay. This is really good. Bernstein recorded this also on Sony. The performance was quite similar. It's notable for its very deliberate scherzo, which is fantastic. It really pounds like the Rite of Spring, a sort of prototypical heavy-footed German version of the Rite of Spring without the syncopations. It's marvelous. It's really a fine performance and very expressive and beautiful. It's a little controversial, of course. It's Bernstein, and he didn't do much Bruckner. There's a live Bruckner Sixth that he did in one of the New York Phil boxes, which is sort of a mess. The performance itself is terrible, but the playing is sort of, And, so when he forayed into Bruckner, it was always interesting. And this is good. This is just a good performance. Then we have his Copland, which is fabulous. Appalachian Spring, Barber Adagio, Candide Overture, Schumann American Festival Orchestra, or Schumann, the American Festival Overture. This is all vintage Bernstein. And the Copland Symphony No. 3 in Quiet City are fabulous. Now, some people like his first Copland third better. I can understand that. It's a little livelier. Not quite as well recorded as this one. This one is more on the grandiose side, but they're both fantastic and magnificently played. And then another Copland, El Sol in Mexico, Connotations, Music for Theater, and the Clarinet Concerto. Some of this was new to his discography. Most of this stuff is stuff he did earlier for Sony. So if you have the Sony stuff, you may not want this stuff. The question is, are there new insights? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Some of the performances are better, some of them are not. It's pick and choose. So we've got those. And then we have Debussy, La Mer, Prelude to the Afternoon of Fun, Image. This is with the Santa Cecilia Orchestra. These are horrible. Absolutely horrible. The playing is lousy. The woodwinds are like, ugh. Bernstein's habit of doing everything from live recordings really didn't work here. These would have had to have been studio versions with plenty of time to fix up the stuff that didn't go too well. They are just sluggish, boring, lousy performances, and that is that. Dvorak, New World Symphony, Slavonic Dances, another bow wow. Oh my God. With the Israel Philharmonic, he's got the 12-minute or 20-minute or 3-hour Largo second movement of the New World. It's slower than... it's just a terrible performance. And it's a pity because Bernstein's Sony one was the best. It's my reference recording. It's fantastic. But here he just went amiss. And the sound's lousy too, by the way. It's just really boxy live sound. Elgar, this is controversial. The Enigma Variations, Pomp and Circumstance, Marches 1 and 2. And Elgar's greatest work, the March of the Mughal Emperors from the Crown of India suite. That transcendental masterpiece. Well, The Enigma Variations was the subject of a video. Bernstein and the BBC guys didn't get along. Bernstein thought he knew what the Enigma was. The British resented him telling them what the Enigma was. I think, quite frankly, whether he knew or didn't know, he was just out to drive him crazy by doing everything that was not traditional. I think it's a great Enigma Variations. Yes, Nimrod is again, really, really, really slow. He turns it into a Mahlerian adagio. Who cares? It's exciting. And the playing, for all of the fact that they hated each other, has a lot of edge to it. I think maybe because they hated each other. I don't know. He made them do it. He made them do it. And I love the video, by the way, at the very beginning, because the very beginning, as the violins are playing the theme, Bernstein looks at them and says, molto vibrato. Yes, exactly. That's the point. And then we have, let's see, the marches. Oh my God, are fabulous. They have such swagger. They're so exciting. It's just fun. I mean, come on, people, have a sense of humor, for heaven's sake. Then we've got the Franc D minor with Saint-Saëns, Le Rouet d'Omphale, and Roussels, Symphony No. 3. I think it's Orchestre Nationale de France. They don't tell you who any of these people are. I'm doing it all off the top of my head. So if I get some of them wrong, just don't correct me. It's okay. But, his French stuff. The stuff he did in France was always great. There were those EMI recordings of Berlioz and Ravel on Sony, and gee whizzo, it was terrific. The Roussel Third was a Bernstein signature piece. It's funny, he did it twice. Both performances are fabulous. He would have known it because, of course, he was a Koussevitzky. Koussevitzky was his mentor. He was a Koussevitzky disciple. That's the word. So he was in Boston, and then the Roussel Third was a Boston commission, and he knew all that music. And how I wish he would have really sort of emphasized his Boston legacy even more than he did in his later career, because he really knew that stuff and just nailed it. It's a great Roussel. It's the Roussel Third. It's just fabulous. And the Franc is really, really romantic. Let it all hang out. Fun. Big and juicy and slushy and sentimental, and it's just marvelous. So after the Franc, we've got Roy Harris Third and the Schumann Third. Classic performances, also remakes, but they are just as good as the originals. They're wonderful performances. They really, really are. I wish he had also dipped into these composers more than he did on disc, because no one else was going to do it, Well, now that's not true. We have complete cycles, and at the time, to have such a big name do this stuff was really huge. And he could have done more. He could have. But he was a composer too, so they got catty with each other and whatnot. All right, Haydn. Oh, yeah. Bernstein was the Haydn guy, the great Haydn conductor of all time. Yes, Symphonies 88 and 92 with the Vienna Phil, and 88 has the first movement, second half repeat for like the first time ever in the history of humanity. It's fantastic. Oh God, it's wonderful. And the surprise of the Symphonia Concertante. Oh my God, even better. And Die Schöpfung, I actually like his first version first. It's a little livelier, but it's very beautifully done. And Symphony No. 102 with the Mass in the Time of War. Those were done with Bavarian Radio. And those were also very, very good. I mean, Bernstein's Haydn Masses were great. I mean, he just got Haydn. He nailed Haydn. Always, he just nailed it. Another fabulous disc, Hindemith, Mathis der Mahler, Symphonic Metamorphoses, and the concert music for strings and brass. This is with the Israel Phil, and it's stunning. It's one of the great Hindemith records. He always did Hindemith well. Bernstein, remember, was educated and grew up in the day when Hindemith was the great tonal German composer. And he always promoted Hindemith's music. I mean, Hindemith was a thing when Bernstein did a young person's concert about Hindemith. And he talked about him as Germany's greatest living composer. Nowadays, Hindemith has sunk below the horizon, which is terrible, because Bernstein and his crew were right. Hindemith was a very great composer. And these people understood his music. They knew how to play it. They were in the style, and they delivered it with unparalleled charisma. And Hindemith is not always somebody we think of when we say the word charisma. Is he? But these performances have that. They are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And then we get Ives. Oh, God, Ives. Yes, Ives. Oh, amazing Ives. Yay. You get the Symphony Number 2, Central Park in the Dark, The Unanswered Question, Tone Roads Number 1, Hymn, Halloween, The Gong on the Hook and Ladder. That's all one disc. And this was a remake of Bernstein's premiere performance of the Ives 2, which Ives heard in the 1950s on his radio and was before he died. And this remake is better. It's really better. It's better played. It's better recorded. Yes, it's a little bit slower and whatnot, but it's just so much more textural, tactile. It's just terrific. Everything in here is terrific. And his Unanswered Question, believe it or not, the earlier one was just full of like strange performance noises. It was very badly recorded. And this one is quite well recorded. So you're in business. You're in business. And you get Central Park in the Dark with it, which was new to Bernstein's discography, as were the other works here. So that's great. And finally, at the end of this, discs 58 and 59, you get a Faust Symphony. It's on 2 discs in this case. First of all, the Faust Symphony came out on 1 disc. It did, as a DG Originals. But this is coupled with the original coupling, which was the Boito Prologue to Mephistopheles, which is really cool. Fabulous to have it with the Boston Symphony. I think Bernstein did some of his best work in Boston. I really, really did. I really, really do. It's Oedipus Rex and some other stuff. Oh, it's just great. And this is fabulous. It is the reference recording of the Faust Symphony. It is kind of slow. It is kind of amazing. It's Bernstein's second recording of it. He also did a young person's concert on the Faust Symphony, which is one of the more interesting ones because he's obviously trying to get through it with as many cuts and snips as possible for the kids before they get bored. This is the way to hear the Faust Symphony, not at the young person's concert. You got to hear what he does with it. Oh, it's just great. The Mephistopheles is fantastic. That was wonderful. And then we have a bonus DVD, The Making of West Side Story, which was the subject of much parody and fun. When you had Kiri Takanawa trying to sing with a Spanish accent and Jose Carreras trying to not sing with a Spanish accent. And I mean, it was that West Side Story has Bernstein's imprimatur, and the performance itself musically is marvelous. The singing is, they're just totally not really Broadway singers. I mean, idiomatically, it's terrible, but I don't really care. Because one of the things we've heard for decades, and people don't complain too much, is opera done by singers who simply learn to sing in whatever language the opera's in. And they do it with accents, and their enunciation is sometimes questionable, and their diction sometimes is for shit, and we don't care. So why should we care here? I don't. I listen to it simply as a musical object and enjoy it tremendously. I really do. And it's important because it establishes the definitive text of the work, which I have the full score over there, and it was published that way. I mean, this was Bernstein's final say in what the shape and structure of the piece is, and what's in and what's out. It was even more important for Candide, and so I'm okay with that. And that, my friends, is volume 1 of the Bernstein collection on DG. Which became the Bernstein Edition on DG in its other box. And it's all been because, Bernstein has Amberson. Amberson is Bernstein. Get it? Bernstein in German means amber. So his company is Amberson. And they ceaselessly promote his stuff. And, it's issued and reissued and deissued and unissued and multi-issued and disissued. So you can get it a zillion ways. But this is a good, convenient way to go through a big chunk in a box. And get ready, because Volume 2 is coming soon to a YouTube channel near you, in particular this one. Keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.